Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tactical Magic. Thank you for listening. I have a special guest today, a good friend of mine from the van life / Skoolie life world. Chris Penn is also known as the off-grid Skoolie, and he has been traveling on the road for over 10 years. His Skoolie build is a culmination of everything he has learned, and he's also crushing it on YouTube. So I'm really excited to get some of his insights, both for my own awareness and for you all to glean some knowledge from. So thanks for being here, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you ended up living on the road for 10 years and building out this awesome school bus.
Yeah, so I ended up studying abroad my sophomore year of college. Went over to Australia, had some interesting things happen there. Long story short, is the first time that I realized that while the sun was setting here, it was raising somewhere else in the globe. So from that's what started my traveling bug. That was the first step, and then from there, van life was not a thing. RV life really wasn't a thing. So when I went to Australia, that was my sophomore year of college. By the end of my fourth year, I hatched a plan to buy a conversion van, a soccer mom van, put the back seats down and build cabinets and travel around with my Husky after graduating college. I got that idea by someone that came into the restaurant I was working at here in Terre Haute, went to Indiana State. It was a big crossroads section of the Midwest. So a lot of people would pull off the interstate in their RVs, park in the mall parking lot, and then come in and eat. So they started talking to me a little bit about RV life. And from that point, I was like, well, I obviously can't afford an RV. I won't have a lot of money after college. So I'm just going to do this cheap route. And that's the first time that I hit the road. And that was March 2009, actually. So just over 10 years and a couple of months since I took my first trip in that camper van. And from there, it's been a progression of that conversion van to a Class B camper van to a Class A, and now this school bus, which is meant to be my full-time home for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and you've built it out kind of extra special compared to how other people are building their mobile homes right now. Want to tell us a little bit about how the off-grid Skoolie really is?
Yeah, so I built this specifically to be able to go out to forests, deserts, urban environments, whatever it may be able to park, stay in one spot for a month or two and not need anything whatsoever. So fitted it with 200 gallons of fresh water, which might turn to 250 to 300 when I get the underbay storage on. 900 amp hours of lithium with 1700 watts of solar, about 30 cubic feet of fridge and freezer space combined. So just had that in mind. I mean, that's why I went with the school bus. The Class A I had, it was fairly large, especially with the slide out, but the carrying capacity was not that great. So for example, the max weight you could put in that Class A was like 25,000 pounds. And that was bone dry. That's no gas, that's no water, that's none of your personal belongings. So by the time my ex and I had moved into that RV, I think we had about 300 pounds of wiggle room before we were over the legal weight. And that's important because if there is an accident, if there's something that happens and you're 1 pound overweight, it's almost automatically your fault. So say if somebody slams on the brake in front of you, there are brakes in front of you, then you're just absolutely screwed. So I didn't want to go over that. And the Class A's are just built very poorly. It's low quality grade material. They're held together by glue and staples. You could just knock on the wall and you could hear the hollowness. Like there was no, and it was even like it was a 2008 and it was a Monaco. So it's a little bit of a nicer brand and it was still not built that well. So just with that, knowing that I could add 3/4 plywood, I could use 1.5 butcher block, I could add all the water, all the solar, I could add everything I wanted to this rig and not come close to that weight capacity. Plus I'd have a Cummins 8.3, which is a wet sleeve engine, which means that it can be in-framed, which ergo it means that if the engine blows up, I can take this to a shop, any Cummins shop, any diesel mechanic shop. They don't take the engine out. They just replace the pistons and they deck the heads, and I have a brand new engine. The Allison 3060 transmission is a world-class transmission. One of the bus dealers that I know, he won't take any more Allison 3060s because he can't sell them. Typically when a 3060 comes in, it's a cylinder. It's not the actual transmission itself. These are 500,000 mile transmissions just out of the box. You just keep the fluids level on it, don't overheat them, and they're good to go. So I got a monster drivetrain. I still have, like right now, the bus probably weighs around 31,000 pounds fully built out, and my carrying capacity is 36. So I still have 5,000 pounds to add to the bus if I ever wanted to.
Yeah.
I built it the way that I wanted, and now it's just my mobile office.
It's awesome. And home. And the beauty I've heard of having a school bus that size is they actually handle better with more weight in them. So it's like there's no reason to hold back. You can just put everything you want.
I can either confirm or deny that point. The only thing that I noticed a big difference was, so I raised the roof on this 21 inches, and the only thing that really affected the drive was actually replacing the shocks and struts, not shocks and struts, the shocks, and I had one of the leaf springs rebent, which gave it basically a fresh from the factory suspension, replaced a bunch of bushings and everything. That was a huge difference, but actually the thing that made this handle better was doing spray foam insulation. So I have spray foam insulation on the walls through the ceiling, and it just made this an absolutely rigid vehicle to drive down the road.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you've been documenting your journey, because I know that started a while back. And for anyone who doesn't already know, Tiny Home Tours on YouTube is a huge resource for people who want to look into this van life or tiny home movement to see how people have built out their homes. And Chris is the man behind all of that.
Yeah, well, I have a team underneath me as well, so that's something to mention as well. I'm definitely not doing it by myself. So I have Tiny Home Tours where I document people on the road, and then I have the Off-Grid Skoolie, which I document myself on the road, what it's like living in the school bus, how much it costs, and the problems I run into. So backing up to that first van that I had, that van served me well for about a year and a half, and then I realized I wanted a bathroom and a shower, and I learned of Class B's, realized that was going to be part of my life from there on out, doing some sort of camper van travel. So I sold that on Craigslist, and I made a quick video, and I threw it on YouTube, and the criteria to get monetized at that time, whatever that video did, it hit that criteria. So I got an email from Google saying that I was now able to monetize the channel, and I spent about 30 hours that first month just creating different content and made 25 cents that month, and I was absolutely blown away. Like, I was so stoked that I was able to do something that I loved and be able to make money online. Like, it took me 6 months to get my first check from Google, because back in the day they sent physical checks and you had to reach $100 threshold. So it took me that long to get up to $100. And, since then I've just been kind of hooked to it, because it's the monetary benefit has definitely been good. It's been very good, especially within the last year. But, it's just the process that I enjoyed. I love the hustle of it. I loved creating content. And that is how we get to today, where I have a couple channels. There's another channel in the works that I'm working out, the details and legalities and, really getting into that. So it's definitely something I'm going to be expanding in the future. So that's how the whole thing started, and now it's kind of blossoming out.
Awesome. So what advice would you have to give somebody who's maybe just looking at starting a YouTube channel or documenting their lives and work?
If you're doing it just for the money, I've never seen, I do see some people getting into it for the money and doing well, but they're the exception that proves the rule. A lot of people get into it just for monetary gain, especially those on the road, because they're trying to find ways to make money. And you hear of people making money on YouTube, but they're not willing to put the 2 or 3 or 4 years in to actually get a ROI. Like, still even to this day, that if you use that first month as an analogy, I was making, a penny an hour the first month or two, and that only went up to about 3 pennies per hour after that. Like it's definitely a long game, and if you're going into it 99% for the money, then in my personal opinion, you're going to get burnt out, and there's much better things you can spend your time and energy on. Like you can re-educate yourself, because YouTube, even though it's making a lot of money now, I'm using their utility. I'm using their platform to make money. It's not my platform, so at any time, if they deem me unsuitable, or if something happens with YouTube, then a large chunk of my income goes elsewhere without any real tangible skills that came from it. Of course, I've learned editing. I built a team under me. I have gained skills from it, but the fact of the matter is it's still their utility. So, there are some things to consider. And now with the money that I'm making now, I'm glad I didn't go back to school or whatever to do a 9 to 5, because it's been doing really well. But it took that 4 or 5 years of just hustle every single day and not having a large ROI to show for it, but just having the faith and actually enjoying what I was doing. And that's kind of the best advice I can give with that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is be patient, know that it's going to take a while of doing the thing before the thing might turn around. And that's true for any endeavor, I think. And also do it for the love of it. Like if you hate making this kind of content, do something else, because if you're not enjoying it and you're not willing to be patient for it to actually turn around, then it's not going to be a fun game, no matter how long you do it for. And then also what I heard you saying, which we've talked a lot about one-on-one, is that it's somebody else's platform. If you're basing your income solely off of YouTube and you're not gaining those subscribers on your own list where you can cultivate that connection and build that relationship, which is something I preach quite a lot, that if that platform were to go down, or if your connection to them were to, for some reason, get blown up, that you'd be dead in the water, at least in that endeavor. And so what are we doing to sort of follow up and create that that follow-up stream after the fact, where people who are your subscribers or your viewers on YouTube or LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or whatever the case may be, how can we actually bring them over to somewhere else where you do have control of whether that goes away or not, where you do have the opportunity to build that connection and make sure you keep that relationship alive?
Yeah, email lists.
Yeah,
people into your ecosystem.
exactly. And even though our email inboxes are inundated, there's still people want to see cool stuff. So if you're creating cool stuff, if you're giving out information that they're interested in, that's insightful, that's a unique perspective and point of view, that's going to be something that could take you for the long haul, for sure. As far as like actually doing the work, I know you said you've hired a team to support you in the back end of doing all the YouTube stuff. Like, what are some of the jobs? I mean, you used to do all the video recording and then editing and then publishing. Like, what are the jobs that you've now handed off to other people to help you streamline that process?
Everything you said. So I have my editor out of Moldova. I have my assistant out of the States, which publishes. She schedules things. We brainstorm my ideas. Then I have a new videographer that I hired who just got 3 videos done yesterday. Actually, I need to call him and make sure. And then I have another videographer, which is definitely more of a part-time, and just looking for other videographers that want to come on the team as well. Just pay them a flat rate. But basically just automating the process, letting go of my ego, thinking that I can do it better than anybody else. And even if it is not up to par for me, not letting perfect keep me from publishing and putting something out there. And just feeding the content monster out there with Tiny Home Tours. I used to post 1 video a week. Most tour channels post once a week, so I decided to go to 2. And I just went through all the videos that are in the can, which means videos that are either being edited or they're ready to post. And right now I have 30 videos ready to post. So actually it's more than that. There's 30 actual tours that are ready to post. And then there's sub content from that can be posted as well. Awesome. So if I keep with the schedule now with the videos that are already scheduled, I have about 4 months of content that is now ready to go, and I can either deviate to new projects, or I can start the new channel, or I can double down and just continuously keep filming. So yeah, just putting all this together, not to necessarily make more income. It's a byproduct of it, but just to allow myself more freedom, to where now, I just came back home and I can take as much time off as I want. Everything's automated and everything's ready to go, and I'm still making the residual income every single day.
Yeah. I want to pull one thing out of that, but also because there's such a sense of ease that comes when you have that much content booked out in the future, that you know that that channel or that platform is like covered for a little while, even though you're going to still keep creating for it. That feeling is what allows you to have time freedom. And you don't have that unless you shoot 5 videos in one weekend or whatever the case may be. Like, if you don't batch your creative output, that it's really hard to create that spaciousness of saying, okay, I have these 4 months until I really have to buckle down on that again. And yes, I might still keep recording videos between now and then, but that's where you could say, like, I'm home and I get to just hang out and be here and not worry about what's going out on every platform right now, or go to Europe. Like, you and I were both just in Europe a couple months ago, and there was still content going out every week because you set it up to be that way. And that's just some systemization that people need to put in place. And then if it's still too much for you to handle, hire the right people to do it. And I just did the same thing. Now I have my virtual assistant editing my YouTube videos, and maybe I would cut it differently, and maybe I would put a different music in the background or whatever. But the fact that it's not on my plate and I don't have to be worrying about that right now is such a load off my mind. It's one of the most fun things to feel supported in, that it may not be perfect by my standards, but it's better done than perfect.
So speaking of, YouTube comments, the dumpster fire that is YouTube comments, I just recently posted a video, a tour of my bus, and the ceiling's not done. And those that watch my channel, they always give me grief about it. And basically, there was this dude that just wrote a comment, and I've learned to play with it. Like, I don't really get upset about it anymore. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have that tinge in your stomach, but I've learned how to deal with it my personal way of just bringing comedy into it and kind of poking people's buttons,
Mm-hmm.
And basically, in his comment, what he was saying was that it was very unprofessional for me to publish a video of my ceiling not done, and businesses won't do business with me because even though my bus has been worked on a lot, it's 95% done. That ceiling is going to be the deal breaker for different companies. I'm like, okay, dude, so help me understand. Like, are you saying that some company's going to watch us and decide not to reach out to me because my ceiling's not done? Is that what's happening? And it's just like, people have this perception that they have to have everything perfect before they present it online. But the fact of the matter is, I would say about 80% of the tours that I do post on Tiny Home Tours, they're not done either. Like, it's always a work in progress. We're always getting things done. So if you wait to make things perfect, you're never going to post anything. That's not the way it works. Like, that's not real life.
Yeah. Okay. It's true. And that, you recommended to me to read Gary Vaynerchuk's Crush It, and he talks about that too. Like, he wishes he had been recording earlier on in his career, because that process of going from unfinished to more finished, like, I laugh at some of the videos that are still available on Facebook of my early Facebook Live days, and not to say I'm a master at it now, but your process of growth is part of what's endearing about you, and your unpolished imperfection of whatever you're sharing, whether it's your bus ceiling or whether it's your business like acumen, or whether it's just your message in general that's not refined yet. If you wait to get perfect, you're going to miss out on all the people who could be following you and falling in love with you from here to there. And
Right.
As far as the feedback, it is something people fear, getting those comments that are rude or just haters, or people who think they know more than you, so they're going to give you their 2 cents. They will give you their 2 cents. It's going to happen no matter what. It's inevitable. But whether you let that phase you or stop you in your tracks is up to you. And I love that you deal with that with some comedy or just like witty remarks back at them, because that's a great way to face it and not let it get under your skin. Sometimes it can be too much for people to handle, but the truth is haters are going to hate, and that is not a good reason not to share your work and share your message.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so a couple things there. When it comes down to showing the process, I think it's natural for me to show my humility with the process. Like one of the more recent videos I posted when I went over to Europe, because I just got burnt out, I was working too much. But when I went over to Europe, I did some videos of me driving a camper van that was on the other side of the road with a manual, with with my left hand. And I was honest, like I'm honestly really nervous. Like I'm like a little bit shaky right now. And I wasn't trying to be a tough guy about it. I was like showing the actual process. I wasn't buttering it up. I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. Like still, like it makes me a little nervous thinking about driving over there again, because I got in so many close accidents. Like there were so many times that I almost got in an accident over there driving that rig, so it like makes me a little nervous. But I mean, I think showing some humility with the process is big as well. And then also, yeah, like I mentioned before, just having comedy, because my window right up there, those that aren't watching the video of this, my rearview mirror shows, I wrote on there, "Do what you can't." And it's a Casey Neistat video. And if you're ever feeling down, if you're ever feeling unmotivated, if you're ever feeling as though you made a mistake, going down this content creation path, just give that video a watch. I've watched it, no exaggeration, 20 to 25 times. And every time that I look at my rearview mirror as I'm driving down the road, down the interstate, and I see that "do what you can't," I look back at the bus that my friends and I built. It's just a reminder that, people are going to prescribe different things to you, but you do what you can't, like keep striving forward. And the last thing to button this little tangent off is, going back to the comedy part. Like, for example, when people complain about things on my channel, people stop complaining about it because they know I might keep it. So for example, this bus was bus 0201 in the West Palm Beach school district. So now I just kept the shoe polish, what's it called? It was like a shoe polish numbering that they put on the rear and front windows, just to make sure they have the right bus. Because what school districts do when they auction these buses off, they legally have to black out the district and the number of the bus. So to make sure that they get the right bus, the right place in the auction. So say I bid on bus 0201 online, they have to put that on the front window. So when somebody comes to pick up bus 0201, they know which bus it is. So I just left it on. It was the least of my concerns. I was cutting a school bus in half. I was trying to build it. That shoe polish did not bother me. But the more people complained about it, I finally got to the point. I was like, okay, so every 4 days that somebody complains about this in the comments, every time somebody complains about that number in the comments, I'm adding 4 days before I take it off. And then it became an inside joke, and now that number is permanently on the bus. Even if somebody wipes it off, I'm putting an 0201 on there, and now it's part of my logo. And it's same with the ceiling. Like people know how serious I am. Like if people keep complaining about it, I'm not going to finish the ceiling.
Oh,
Because
no.
it doesn't matter to me. It's my
People,
bus.
stop complaining about that.
But it's like that's how I deal with it. I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna tell me what to do. That's funny. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we do this, and that's how I deal with it, because it's me. Like they can obviously have their opinions. The bus would definitely look better if it was finished, but my priority was getting 30 videos done, so then I can take 4 months off and start new projects. Like I don't let the outside influence really influence me unless it's constructive criticism. Like I'll listen to constructive criticism all day. I encourage it. And when I started YouTube, that was harder for me, but as I've matured, as I've gotten older and more comfortable with myself, I can, like, if I start to feel something flare up, if it's actual constructive criticism, be like, no, that's your ego. Like, let's listen to this. Let's see what this person has to say. Because YouTube has definitely killed my ego. There's been a lot of things that have killed my ego. It's still there, but I'm more conscious of it now. It's part of my routine. If I start to feel something boiling inside of me, okay, so what's happening here? Is this my ego? Is this person just pissing me off for some reason? Like, what's actually happening here? Taking that step back, and I think YouTube has taught me that.
Awesome. We only have a few minutes left, but I do want to ask one more question before we talk about how to follow you and get your links and stuff. I will start out by saying I shoot all my videos on my cell phone. I now have a fancy gimbal, which is like a motion stabilizer thing to take more stable videos, and I use a tripod from time to time, or I use my Zoom video on my computer sometimes too. But what is the equipment that you're using now? And also, like, how do you make sure you have enough A-roll and B-roll to make a good video? And what is A-roll and B-roll, if you would say it in your own words?
Yeah, so the actual technical part of making videos. So I am not a big believer in you need gear. If you have a phone and you have some sort of good audio, right now for my vlog, I'm rocking the GoPro 7 Plus. It's a stabilized GoPro with an external mic. That's all you need. I could shoot tiny home tours with that. I could shoot my vlog. If you're just getting started, the GoPro 7 black stabilized. I have a Rode mic on Amazon. It's a suggested item. Right down with it because everybody's getting this set up. I have a Joby Pod, which is just a handheld, small little tripod, and I put the GoPro up front while I'm driving, so it's nice and fluid, and I'm able to show people the scenes. And then I have the tripod if I need to mount it somewhere. With tiny home tours, I did get a little bit more fancy. I didn't have to, but being that the channel's bringing in as much income as it is, it made sense for me to compete a little bit more with the big dogs out there. So I have the Sony 6500, which is a stabilized camera with the 10 to 18 lens. And I have a Ziontech WeLab gimbal. So that is what I'm rocking. It's an amazing setup. It is a little bit overkill, but having the nice fluid shots, again, just to compete in the market out there, is better than the GoPro. But I want to pin this down that if you're just starting, a $400 camera in the GoPro 7 Black would be all you need to do whatever you try to do. Like, that would be an amazing setup for anybody getting started. Then I have a DJI Mavic 2 Zoom, which I use for tiny home tours, as well as the off-grid Skoolie more tiny home tours.
That's a drone.
And I just
doesn't know.
Yeah, that's an aerial camera. In terms of B-roll, I shoot way more than I need. I'd say about only half of it ever gets used. But typically when I do tiny home tours, I shoot and then do the B-roll after and just have a conversation with somebody. So if I'm having a conversation, typically I'll just keep getting B-roll over and over again, different angles, different ways of getting it, just so I have it, just so the editor has it. And if we want to go back and cut that footage up later, you can never have too much footage, but you can certainly not have enough.
Awesome. And then you also do brilliant things where when a video is coming out, you go in and post about it on social media. So you get a little hype about it beforehand, and then make sure to post on the same day on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, so that people who are following you on those other platforms can click over and watch that video and know what it's going to be about. So it builds a little bit more excitement and engagement when you're using multiple platforms together like that, which is awesome. And tell them about the thing you made that they can get on your list and receive from you, because it's pretty radical.
Yeah, so more recently, I put together a document. It's an 84-page document. It's basically why I built a school bus, went over a little bit here, how I make money on the road, and it's, the importance of building a team, why I built a team, how I built a team, the Pareto 80-20 principle, collaboration. Basically, from when I first made that 25-cent check or 25-cent income for that month to where I'm at now, everything I learned in the process that worked. And I have definitely tried a lot more that's in the manual, but either it didn't jive with me or it didn't work. Maybe if I would have kept trying those different methods, it would have worked. But what I have in that manual is everything that's worked for me, how I'm making the money that I am right now. And, just to be frank, like today, I have been doing a little bit of work, but whether I worked or not, today's income with all the channels would probably be, with where it's at now, $500 to $600. So, and I'm just hanging out and
at home visiting with your niece and doing a podcast episode for no reason. It's awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely, that those numbers are glamorous to talk about, but again, it's been a 10-year process, and it's been a good 4 to 5 years of solid getting after YouTube. It didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of time, a lot of energy, but in the end, now I'm living the life that I've always wanted to live. Like when I got home yesterday, long story short, my battery in my alternator is dead. So when I was trying to get to Indiana, I was 25 miles out from a 1,200-mile trip, and the bus kept dying on me, and the lights would turn off at like 1 a.m. So I'd have to get out, get my jumper cables, turn my tow car on, jump the rig, go 5 miles. It would die again. I finally limped it into a Walmart and got a trickle charger for it. But anyways, you know, the whole time I was calm, cool, collected. This road life has taught me that you can't choose what happens. You can choose how you react. And just kept laughing at myself for all the wrong, like so many things went wrong. I had to disconnect my turn signal because my emergency flashers got stuck on. I can't turn them off. And it's just like all this stuff was happening. And the thing is, I was like laughing to myself. I was just like, this is ridiculous, you know, but I finally get in. I'm super tired. It was the next day because I stayed at Walmart, and my aunt was like, man, you look terrible. I was like, I feel terrible because I slept like 2 hours or whatever. And she's like, well, you seem to be doing good. You're living the life that you always wanted to lead. Because back when I was 7 years old, I told her, my mom, my grandma that I was going to live out in the woods in a tent with my dog and not pay rent or utilities. You know, like been something that's been a part of me for such a long time. And it's just a blessing to be born in this internet age to where I can make that much money online and have it residual and be able to do it. And the thing is, the reason why I'm such a big proponent of this lifestyle, I know it's not for everybody, but those people like me when they were 7, when they just wanted to be off the grid with their dog and just hang out in the woods or whatever, you know, now we have the possibility to do it. Whether you're working an hourly job or you build a business, you do Amazon FBA, you know, there's so many options out there, and we're so lucky to be born in this time. It like makes my stomach hurt to think that people are in office jobs because they're scared to do it or they don't know how to figure it out. Right. So I'm hoping that as this continues, as we're in this infancy stage and we get to the adolescent stage of people working remotely, hopefully more people are able to get out there and do this lifestyle.
Totally. So how do people get access to that amazing manual, which everyone who's listening, I already read it and it's awesome. I highly recommend you get your hands on it. What link should they go to? We'll put the link in the description, of course, but
yeah, so it's linked directly to Instagram right now. The offgridskoolie.com, it's linked there. But Instagram, it's right in my bio. It's my bio link. I'm probably going to keep it in the bio. And I'm just now starting to market it. To be honest, it paid for itself now. And a lot of times I'm just giving it away for free now. Like its purpose necessarily wasn't an income source. I've been blessed with YouTube. But now that it's paid for, all the advertising's all paid for. And yeah, I just send copies to people, and hopefully it helps them learn. Because again, my main priority is getting people on the road. But if you do have the extra $17, that gets me about 5 gallons of diesel, which gets me about the road.
Yeah. And we always want more of that, more down the road. So yeah, the Off-Grid Skoolie is spelled how it sounds, except Skoolie is Skoolie. They'll have the link in the description of this podcast episode, but in case you want to go straight there and check it out, the offgridskoolie.com is where you can learn more about Chris. And definitely go to YouTube, check out Tiny Home Tours, and if you want to, you can find a video of me on there with my van, which is also not finished or perfect or done, but it's pretty fun to see that awesome video that you and your team made for us about my van. So thank you for doing that, and thanks for being on Tactical Magic today. I hope you all learned a whole lot. If you have any questions, you know where to go. Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into Tactical Magic. To find out more, please visit our website, wildheartsriseup.com.